I can see you. I can see you. Get over here. I'm gonna get you. I'm going to get you. Hey,
blessed blackout. Well, we'll have a nice little cup of tea first. Come in the kitchen, it's cosier in there.
Oh, that'll be lovely.
Well, I've only just brewed up.
Mrs. Christie's out, is she?
She's away up in Sheffield at her sister's. Oh, sit down, Miss Edie, do.
Thank you.
Do you take sugar?
No, thanks.
No.
Thank you.
Well, now, it's been bad, has it, the bronchitis?
At night. It's been bad at night.
Mm-hmm. Keeps you awake, I dare say.
Yes.
Well, this is the stuff for you, Muriel. You don't mind if I call you Muriel, do you?
No.
No.
It's very good of you to go to all this trouble.
Oh, not at all.
All my doctor does is keep giving me this cough mixture.
Well, not many of them know about this stuff.
Oh, it smells just like Friar's balsam.
Well, yes, that's in it. It's a mixture, what we call a compound.
Let's see.
Now, here's the little mask that goes over your face. Oh, have you finished with your tea?
Yes, thank you.
Fine. And when it's over your face, you must breathe deeply so you take in all the vapours, you see. You may feel just a bit dizzy.
What's that for?
That's the extractor. It gets rid of what we call all the waste products. Now then, you put the mask over your face, lean your head back, lean right back, shut your eyes, close your eyes, that's it. Shut your eyes, now then. Start your breathing then. Breathe quite deeply. Breathe. Breathe.
It smells a bit funny, Mr. Christie.
Yes. Do you feel a bit dizzy?
I do a bit.
Yes, well, that's all the goodness taking effect. Breathe, Muriel. Breathe.
Oh.
No, Muriel. No. Breathe, Muriel. No. Breathe. Muriel.
I came across a man called Leslie Linder, who became a great friend of mine also, who had the idea of making a film about Christie. It was called 10 Rillington Place. And those of us involved in that, Ludo Kennedy, Harry Evans, who was the owner of the Sunday, the editor of the Sunday Times, we were opposed to capital punishment.
The police made several mistakes in the handling of the case, especially in overlooking the remains of Christie's previous murder victims in the garden at Rillington Place. One femur was later found propping up a fence. The garden of the property was very small, about 16 by 14 feet, 4.9 by 4.3 meters, and the fence was parallel to the wash house where the bodies of Beryl and Geraldine were later found. Several searches were made at the house after Evans confessed to placing his wife's remains in the drains, but the 3 policemen conducting the search did not go into the wash house. The garden was apparently examined but was not excavated at this point. Christie later admitted that his dog had unearthed the skull of Muriel Eady in the garden shortly after these police searches. He threw the skull into an abandoned bombed outhouse in nearby St. Mark's Road. There was clearly no systematic search made of the crime scene, in which this or other human remains would have been found, and pointed to Christie as the perpetrator. Several police searches of the property showed a complete lack of expertise in handling forensic evidence and were quite superficial, at best. Had the searches been conducted effectively, the investigation would have exposed Christie as a murderer, and the lives of 4 women, as well as Evans's, would have been saved.
And there was a Conservative MP on the South Coast, I won't go further than that, who was trying to introduce a private member's bill into the House of Commons to reintroduce capital punishment. And we felt so passionately opposed to this that Leslie first and then Ludo Kennedy got this idea of making 10 Rillington Place. And the idea of being able to persuade a director of Dick Fleischer's caliber and standing and integrity to come over and do it in the UK was pretty bold, of which I had nothing to do other than clap my hands and say, I would give anything if Dick would make this. It was a very difficult film to make. It could be in appalling bad taste.
He said, what's the name of it? I said, well, it's called 10 Rillington Place, based on a book by Ludwig Kennedy. He said, oh, I wouldn't have heard of it, wouldn't I? And he said, you see the bookcases over there? I said, yes. He said, well, I said, go on, walk over there. No, more to your left, a little more to your left, up there. And I see the title, 10 Rillington Place. He said, pull it out.
Could be ludicrously macabre. Could be a cri de coeur on a moral question and not a piece of cinema.
So I pulled it out. He said, open it. I said, open it any page. And I opened it on one page. There was underlining in red ink. So I opened another page, there was underlining in red ink. And so it went on through the book. And I said, have you been working on this book?
And Dick turned it into a piece of cinema. So that Johnny Hurt and I, basically, in playing the two leading parts, found that wonderful gift again of being able to be persuaded by Dick that this really was a magnificent, potentially, piece of cinema.
So, well, I liked the story, and I suddenly thought, yes, Boston Strangler, 10 Rillington Place, and so on. And he said, you know, I'd really like to do this film. And I said, oh, come on, Dick, you've just done Tora Tora. This is a tiny budget movie, 8-week schedule, you know, nothing.
Whatever other things it had, whatever quality, whatever importance it had, it was a piece of cinema. And one can never forget that if the picture came off, and I think it did, in fact, it was one of the performances I'm not ashamed of, if it came off to the extent that it did, that skill, that touch of magic, came from Dick Fleischer.
Never heard of it, but it's a fascinating story. And I said, what is it called? He said, well, it's a book. It's called 10 Rillington Place. So I said, well, just a moment. I went up to my library, pulled out a volume. I said, do you mean this one? And it was 10 Rillington Place. And he was astounded I would have that book. But I had picked it up when I was in
He said, well, just ask me. I said, okay. You want to shoot 10 Rillington Place? And the answer was yes. And so that's how it happened. Probably if I hadn't stopped off for dinner that night, it wouldn't have been made with Richard Fleischer.
England, on one of my many trips there, and had read it, and it was a fascinating case, a true story. And again, it was a story about a serial murderer.
He not only had a wonderful use of his camera and the manner in which he shot it and edited too.
And it was a very important story because it turned out at the end of this case that the wrong man was accused and hanged for the crime that another man had committed, or the crimes the other man had committed.
But he also had that gift of giving the actors the confidence. And when some of the things I had to do in the movie, which were unpleasant to say the least.
And the country was so shocked by it that it was a direct influence on the abolishment of capital punishment in England. So it's a very important story.
gave me the assurance to be able to do that. So whatever good reviews, I'm sure Johnny would agree with me, that Johnny Hurt and I got were in no small measure due to Dick Fleischer's skill.
And the details of the story are absolutely fascinating, as most true crime stories are. So he said to me, Leslie, Linder, how would you like to come to London and make the picture? He said, it's going to be a small picture, a very small budget, but I'd love you to do it. And I said, well, I'm packing my bags. I'll be over in a couple of weeks. So I did make that picture, and it was, again, a very wild gyration. In my career, from making Tora, 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 which is the most expensive picture Hollywood had made, to 10 Rillington Place, which was made for well under $1 million, which is extremely small.